Welcome to Algebra 2. This is section 3-3, Systems of Inequalities. The essential question is, when graphing a system of inequalities, what area do you shade and why? Let's begin. So, the best way to solve a system of inequalities is by graphing. You basically graph the two inequality lines, and so you graph the first one, and you graph the second one. We learned this last week or two. And then you just shade the area that they overlap. So 3 steps to this. Graph the first, the second, and shade the overlap. So let's look at an example first. So what are the solutions of the system of equalities? I have 2 inequalities right here. Right here and right here. So what I do is, here's the shade of the first graph. This is this line, and you shade below. The second one is this line, you're shading above. So the system of inequalities, I draw them together on the first graph. And I know I have to shade above the red one, so I do little tick marks above the red one. And I know I'm shading below the blue one, so I do little tick marks below the blue one. And then I look at that and go, well, what's the area that they both cover? And there's basically 4 options here. Boom, 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 boom. It's not this one, obviously, because no one's shaded here. And it's shaded below the blue, so it's not this one up here. But it's shaded above the red, and like the area they both overlap is like this area. So I guess purple would be the matching pair. I would just shade this area, and only this area. So basically, a system of equalities, you're going to have like little 4 regions basically, but only one of those 4 regions is going to be shaded. And you have to figure it out. It's the one they both overlap. So just like that. So let's try some other examples where I actually draw them out. Okay, so what is the solution of this system? So I want to graph both of these. The first one, I'll graph the top one. But I don't like it because it's not in y equals form. That's a little hard for me to graph. So I'm going to rearrange this by subtracting x on both sides. So I get 2y is less than or equal to negative x plus 4. And then I don't like the 2. I want to isolate the y, so divide everything by 2. And what you're going to get is y is less than negative 1/2 x plus 2. Now I want less than or equal to. Excuse me. So I'm going to graph this one. I'll graph it in purple. So the y-intercept's 2, so I plot a point at 2. And I want to make sure that's accurate, so I'm going to label it 0, 2. And then since the slope is negative 1/2, I go down 1 and over 2. That the plot's going to be right there, so I'm going to label that point 2, 1. Now I got those 2 points. I draw a straight line through that. Since it's or equal to, it's going to be solid. So I'm going to draw a perfectly straight line through that. Ooh, ooh, that was good. Okay, so perfectly straight line, and you know what? You should go all the way to the edge. All the way to the edge. And where do I shade, above or below? Well, we can try test points, but we can use that hint. If it's less than, you always shade below. So I'm a little dash marks just to remind myself that I shade below. Okay? You can also try test point if you want to figure it out. But you always want to shade below. Now, the next one, let's do the other graph. I'm going to do this one in blue. So I'm going to move this one down here. And let's do that one in blue. So graphing this line, it's already in slope-intercept form. So it's like negative 1x right here. The slope y-intercept is going to be right here at negative 1, so I'm going to label that 0, negative 1. And the slope is negative 1, 1, so down 1 over 1. Put another dot right here and label that 1, negative 2. So I got 2 points. I draw a perfectly straight line through those 2 points. So that perfectly straight line is going to look like, oh boy, it's going to go like this. Let's see. It's going to go like this and like that. That's pretty good. You want to use a ruler, not like what I do trying to freehand that, because that doesn't really look straight. But whatever. It'll work for this example. So now they're crossing right here. And okay, I shade y is greater than, so I shade above. So I do little tick marks that indicate I'm shading above this blue line. Now that I got these tick marks, which region do they both overlap? Well, I'm shading above the blue. It's going to be above the blue, but under the purple, and that's obviously this region. So you know what? We shade this region just like this. Never cross the line. Perfect shading job. And that's my system of inequalities. Okay, so we can also mix different types of graphs. So it doesn't have to just be lines. It can be any kind of equations. So we're going to shade this system. So the top one, I'll do that in red. So this top one right here, y is less than 3. Well, y equals 3 is a line at exactly where y equals 3. So you do a perfectly straight line. That's pretty good. at y equals 3. I'm going to label a point there just to be consistent. And now since it's going to be solid, ooh, was that last one solid? Yeah, it was. That's going to be solid, and it says y is less than, so I'm going to shade below, because y has to be less than. So put little tick marks that say we're going below. Now, the other one's absolute value, everyone's favorite functions. I'll do that. Let's do that in pink. Why not? So do this in pink. So let's make a table here. X, Y. Now, if x is, the vertex is going to be at 0, nope, the first one's going to be at 1. It's the opposite of that number. So 1, 0, and 2. Let's pick. If x is 1, y is 0. If x is 0, it's 1 and 1. So I'm going to plot that. So x is 1, 0. Right here, we'll label that 1, 0. 0, 1. And 2, 1. So there's my V shape. It is or equals to, so it's solid. So I'm going to draw my absolute value. It's a solid line. That's okay. Now it's y is greater than. Greater than means you shade above. So I'm going to shade above just like this. Okay? So now what's the overlap? Well, it's shading above the V and shading below the line. So it can't be shading above the line. So that's going to be actually that little triangle there. I'm going to do that in green. So it's going to be this little triangle here is my solution. All this area. Every point in this area is a solution. That's what that area actually represents. Any point that you can put in this little triangle here, it can be a solution to this system of inequalities. Alright, try some examples. Pause the video. Okay, let's begin. So this first one, I'll do this in blue. I want to get y by itself, so I will subtract x on both sides. You get y is greater than or equal to negative x plus 2. If I want to graph that, the y-intercept's at 2. I'm going to graph point dot here and go 0, 2. And the slope is going to be negative 1, so down 1 over 1. So that's the second point. And it's going to be or equals to, so it's going to be a solid line. So I'm going to draw a solid line doing that. And I'll just keep going up this way. I kind of cheated. Oh, dip there. That's okay. And which way do I shade? Well, I shade above it. So I'm going to do tick marks above just to remind myself. Tick marks above. Now on the second equation, let's move this down. You know what? I'm going to put it up here. And we'll do that one in green. So I'll subtract 2x on both sides. So I'm going to get y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 5. Okay, plus 5 is the y-intercept. So I'm going to go right here, label that 0, 5. And negative 2x is down 2 over 1. That's my second point. And then I'm going to try to draw a perfectly straight line through that. Yeah, perfectly straight. Okay, so, and we got to say, okay, we're less than, so we shade under it. Do some tick marks. Okay, so what region is covered by both? Well, it's under the green, above the blue. That's going to be that little area. I'm going to do light pink. Light pink to shade it in. And that's a perfect shading job. Perfect. All right, next one. Pause the video. Let's go. So y is greater than x. Yay. So that's like plus 0. So my y-intercept 0. 0, 0. And the slope's 1. So I'm going to go up 1 over 1. So that's the second point. So I'm going to draw a perfectly straight line through those points. Perfectly straight. Beautiful. Oh, that was terrible because it's greater than. It's no or equal to. It's got to be dashed. So I need to draw a perfectly straight dashed line. Much better. Okay, and it's greater than, so I shade above it. I will still do tick marks to indicate above. Okay, y is less than x plus 1, so that's 1x plus 1. I'll do that in red. So then my y-intercept's at 1, so 0, 1. And the slope's going to be at, it's going to be up 1 over 1, so like this. Okay, so here's the neat thing. I'm going to be drawing a perfectly, oh, no, it's got to be dashed. So what happens when you graph these, and this is why you need to do a ruler and not freehanding like me, because then you might think, oh, they overlap. In a lot of those cases, these lines are actually going to be parallel. So this is why you really need to do a ruler and not freehand it like me. Be better than me. But now it's less than that, so we're shading under it. So guess what? The region is just the sandwich in between those two. And let's do it, and it's going to be black. Why not? So this is going to be the region. All right here. All shaded in perfectly. That's it.